the IEC announcing earlier that it is pulling all the stops to ensure the finalisation of the capturing and the auditing of the results for this particular election, and saying that this remains on course. The Eastern Cape is at just over 92% of the capturing, while the Free State at just over 95%. These are some of the provinces as we were getting an update from the IEC just a short while ago. But let's look at the Northern Cape. I mean, it is at 100%, especially when you look at the completed districts there. And we will, of course, be showing you how things are looking in the Northern Cape. Currently, this is the picture as it stands in the Northern Cape. You look at the fact that this is a party that was hoping, the ANC, hoping to at least secure 60% of the Northern Cape. Look at this percentage. It's at 49.3%. And a number of people last night were waiting to see, will the ANC beat the 49.3% where it found itself, or will it then go above the threshold of 50%? Of course, remember, this is a province that has reached the 100% of counting, just over 195,000 votes there. The ANC, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa in the Northern Cape. You listen to some of the party agents there. They talk about how they were hoping that they would be able then to at least secure some kind of 60%. But let's look at the second party in the Northern Cape as well, and that would be the Democratic Alliance. And the Democratic Alliance, when you think about their story in the Northern Cape, they talk about how for them, this is a province that they were looking to ensure that they grow their support. You look at this particular result at around 21.2%. I wonder, what do they make of it? You remember the big push that the Democratic Alliance especially put in this particular province, especially when they're looking at the issues of service delivery. They speak about a province that they say really needs a big push. It needs to make sure that it does better when it comes to the issues around service delivery, the issues of water, the issues of housing, sanitation, and all of that are quite big in this particular province, with just over 83,000 of those votes there. That's the Democratic Alliance in the Northern Cape. Now, the third party was also hoping to grow in this particular province. You listen to some of their party agents. That's the EFF. They talk about how this particular province for them is just as important. And one of course, the critical messaging that the EFF was also talking about in this particular province was also jobs as well. Remember, even their manifesto speaking about land, speaking about jobs, speaking about issues around load shedding. They have managed to bag around 13.2% when it comes to this particular province. Counting is at 100%. Now you think about the fact that, I mean, they're just over what, over 52,000 of the votes in the Northern Cape. And this is how the picture is looking here in this particular province. Interestingly enough, when you think about this province, I mean, other political parties like your FF Pluses and all of that were hoping to also be in this position where the EFF finds itself in right now, to possibly see some growth. But listening to what they also say in that province as well, is that they're happy with, you know, where they're finding themselves right now. So it'll be interesting to see the final picture of this particular province. And remember, this is not only about the votes. We'll take you to Gauteng with some of the projections, just to give you a sense of, you know, the projections and how things could potentially look like. Remember, counting is continuing at this stage. So it's all about the seats as well. And as it is all about the seats, it's quite important to also remember that some of these political parties are looking to make sure that they make up the provincial legislatures. And when they make up the provincial legislatures, they're looking at ensuring that a number of political parties are then well represented in these provincial legislatures. So you think about Gauteng being a metro. Last night, even listening to what the IEC had to say, they were talking about the fact that some of the metros, the results do lag. So this, as in fact, it's in Mpumalanga right now, as you know, some of the predictions continue there when it comes to some of what we may just see. And this is a province, interestingly enough, where we're seeing the MK party also making some kind of inroads there. You think about some of, you know, the number of people who are possibly thinking that maybe the Democratic Alliance could be the official opposition in this particular province. And you look at this province, the ANC currently is leading in the province of Mpumalanga. This is their stronghold. A lot of people waiting waiting to see the final picture of Mpumalanga and how the ANC actually, performs in this particular province. And then at the same time, you then are looking at an MK party that is currently at around 9 seats. I mean, this is a projection by the CSIR. So they are projecting that possibly some of the 9 seats there, because you are seeing an MK party in that province that is also fighting for its position. So how much of the votes will they then bag, just as the province then wraps up its capturing and auditing of the results? At the same time, you're looking at the EFF also making inroads in this particular province. So these are some of the political parties, the Democratic Alliance also here. And at the same time, you think about the other parties that would make up 1 seat. It'll be interesting to see who actually gets there. But also, you see a Freedom Front Plus there that is also trying to make some kind of inroads. So you look at this particular picture in terms of percentages. Of course, the counting is in progress right now. The national turnout so far in this, election at the moment, when you think about some of the counting that has been done, reflecting around 57 or so. But you're looking at the fact that if you'd see some of the seats and the makeup of the seats, it does seem to be, according to this particular projection, that the ANC may then find itself with the majority of the seats in this particular provincial legislature. And this is around, of course, just a 50%. So some of the seats allocations there, the predictions, looking at the fact that maybe the ANC may just find itself with a stronger footing in the province of Mpumalanga. And as we're telling you, it's all about the seats. It's all about the seats, and these make up, the seats that are making up the provincial legislatures. But at the same time, these are the seats that are also making up the National Assembly as well, because that's also going to be quite important to see just how many of the political parties are going to be finding themselves going into the National Assembly as well. And this is how it's all likely to look. I mean, so far, you're looking at some of the predicted seats here. As you can see where I am, this is some of the seats that are predicted possibly for the Democratic Alliance, around 87 or so in the National Assembly. Of course, these are projections. Remember, the CSIR are also working hard at ensuring that they also give us a sense of how the pictures could be looking. If you look at the shades here, this is a darker shade of green. And this darker shade of green represents the African National Congress. And you then look at another shade of green, which is critical to note. It's a lighter shade of green, and this lighter shade of green here, this is a shade of green that speaks to the MK party. And then you look at this red, of course, representing the EFF, and then other political parties will then make up some of these seats here. So it's interesting to look at this particular, basically make up a possible projection of the makeup of the National Assembly. Let's give you a sense of another battleground. It's not only KwaZulu-Natal that is a battleground. Gauteng is a battleground in and itself, and this is a province a number of political parties are hoping to make some inroads in, because you think about the economic hub. Everyone wants to have the biggest stake in the economic hub. And you look at this predicted seats allocation here in the economic hub, it does look like the ANC may just get, some 28 seats. The predictions also looking at a Democratic Alliance that's likely to possibly get at least around 22. At the same time, an EFF that could potentially get 11. And then the MK party, interestingly, also, you see there about 8 seats that are also being projected there as well. And it's also interesting because you look at what also is taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. We'll bring you that, of course, what is happening in KwaZulu-Natal as well, because that has also been another interesting result that a number of people have been talking about, to say, how does it all look right now? Because you think about the fact that you can see that light shade of green that I spoke about a little earlier on that represents the MK party. When you look at what has been counted in KwaZulu-Natal so far, the MK party here, of course, their graph is longer. Predictions are that maybe they may just get around 36 of the 80 seats that they're allocated in the provincial legislature. And you then see an IFP. I mean, the IFP was hoping to also make some serious inroads in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Of course, counting continues. You listen to some of the leaders of the Inkatha Freedom Party. They tell you that they are hoping that when some of their strongholds, their bases, are then counted, they are possibly likely to see a bit more of support. So it'll be interesting, Mfundo, to see just how this particular battleground continues to play out, especially when you think about the political parties themselves who would have had their manifestos in this province of KwaZulu-Natal. So it will be interesting to see then what happens, Mfundo, because one of the very important conversations is that what happens now with the province of KwaZulu-Natal? What becomes a conversation around an MK party that is not only growing in KwaZulu-Natal, but it seems, according to what we've seen so far, in Mpumalanga it's a factor, in Gauteng there's a factor as well, you're looking at Limpopo. So let's hear then what some of the analysts have to say.